Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We've got a daily trade recap and free agency recap. We are day one of free agency, which is pretty exciting. So me and Leg Dog and some guests who can't come there, you will see a daily show right up until the 18th of October. So you've got 12 more days of this excitement. For those watching at home, free agency runs from today to Friday the 13th. Unlucky for some, 5 o'clock Australian Eastern Time. And then the trade period ramps straight up that Monday the 9th to October the 18th, leading in to the AFL draft in the back end of November. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn notification bell buttons on, because we're going to smash it out. And today, what we're looking at is Carlton specifically. You know I'm a Carlton boy. You know I'm going to be biased. We're looking at what these trades look like for Carlton and North Melbourne and St Kilda. But obviously the big news, Zach Fisher becomes probably the first player in a long time since SPS and players like that to request a trade to leave Carlton Football Club. And he's nominated Alistair Clarkson's North Melbourne, the crafty left footer that is now being converted to a halfback. So much so that now he is listed there as a defender. Wanting a bit more midfield time, you'd imagine he will get it, particularly as well as Sheasel works up the ground and whatnot. But you would say this is something that they lack at North Melbourne. It's a sensible trade for them, and it's a sensible trade for Carlton, given the depth of talent in that, and obviously fitting Nick Austin's model that we don't keep players that don't want to be around, and we try and accommodate them to help the best of their careers. As you can see, Zachy Fisher, much loved by the Carlton faithful, 25 years old, 175 centimetres and 76 kgs. Now, let's take the emotion out of this. 25 years old, coming to play at Carlton, where he's probably not going to play and be in the best 22, versus going to North, reunites with his mate Logie, but also, more importantly, he's going to get game time. And this is something that you've got to get your head around, whether you like these players or you don't. This is their job. And do they want to sat biscuit-arsed in the resis, or actually ply their trade and have some stories to tell their kids? You're always going to choose that. You don't, at 25 years old, if I was Zach Fisher's mate or his agent, I'd be saying, you need to be playing, kidder. You need to be playing. You don't want to waste away there. It's very hard to break into the 22. It's a lot easier to go there and have a fresh change of scenery, fresh little mindset. Listen to Nick Newman when he talked about he wanted to go into the leadership group, but he had to evolve. And by evolving, he had to move clubs, so he had a fresh, clean slate. And he's done that remarkably well. And Zach Fisher, probably for me, is the one player that we're going to lose that I feel like could actually make something of himself in the right environment and in the right system. Let's look at him this year. The 12 games, 20.8 touches off halfback, 1.3 tackles. That is always going to be the question mark. Defensively, is he strong enough to play there? I think he is, given the Monday role and looking at the players that North have. I also think his zip and his energy really suits the Clarkson mould. 2.1 rebound 50s, but this is it. Staggering score involvements. He's given goals. His willingness to overlap his left winger, they're really poignant, and that is going to be really a key asset to North Melbourne, and one that they can utilise. You've got to see, to play the best football at Carlton, he'd have to displace Adam Sard and Nick Newman, and you would need your head wobbling if you're dropping them. As much as I love Zach Fisher, your head needs wobbling and cementing back down. The team that's been nominated is North Melbourne in this case, and Pick 41, you'd imagine, will get the deal done. There'll be some negotiating. And what will that trade look like, Uncle Pom? I can tell thee how it could look, right? This is what I predict happens. So as you can see, right, Carlton give up Zach Fisher and use Pick 41 for Elijah Hollands. Zach Fisher goes, Pick 41. Zach Fisher comes in, Pick 41 goes. Then Pick 41 is about the money for Elijah Hollands. I think given that people are understating, there is also another player that they've got to match a bid on in this, not just the three in the top 10. So this makes sense for all parties. Pick 41 as well holds enough point value to kind of negate them later picks. Once it gets to 5, 7, 8, 9, and all that malarkey, you will find in the AFL that the picks kind of plummet in price. And this will be something that is really interesting to look at. you would imagine that pick 41 there, that holds a trade match value of 412. So it's a very valuable pick if you are trying to negate other bids. So I think that's a lock. I think it's an easy deal to get through. North are traditionally incredibly good at the fair trade table. So are Carlton. And in fairness to Gold Coast, so are they. Let's look at Paddy Dow. This one's going to sting the Carlton faithful, no doubt. 23 years of old, 184 and 83 kegs. Now, people are all saying about depth, right? And I understand that. I'm not a moron. But I look at what St Kilda need. They probably need a little bit of outside depth and a little bit of running speed and a point of difference in that midfield. All due respect to St Kilda, their midfield feels like someone's just Control-C and Control-V'd it every week. And Paddy Dow is that point of difference. Now, why would Carlton sell? Well, they've offered him a year deal. Now, the way that the AFL works and moves so quickly, if he accepts that year deal and he has less than 10 games next year, St Kilda will have filled their hole this trade window. So will Sydney, another team that's got a very loose interest. And by all reports, Paddy Dow wants to stay in Victoria, but they will have filled their need, where he wouldn't be best 22, but he probably has a bit of a chance of breaking in, looking at their makeup and how they rotate their squad. This time next year, it could be a total different landscape. Looking at the draft next year as well, it is a plum with midfielders. So that creates an issue for Paddy Dow. If he's in this situation next year, you ain't too far away from playing state league football or worse still, country football or being in the obscurity, right? And that's what Dow's got to make a decision. 23 years old, I want to play. I want to be in the window. And if there's security of a 2-3 year deal, that gives me more time to work on my craft. He's coming up to that age now where midfielders are really reaching their plumb. And the big issue with Paddy Dow, if you're a St Kilda fan, is he can't play anywhere else. He is a pure inside midfielder, as proven by his VFL and his AFL time, that it is literally either limited game minutes or 100% on the ball. And it is impossible to play his burst style 100%. So I think St Kilda have got the players to negate it. Now, this season, 10 games, some of them are warped because he was an unused sub, but 15.9 disposals, 2.5 tackles, 4.2 clearances, and 4.2 score involvements. Very impressive. St Kilda look pole position. Sauce has come out with that nonsense of pre-season draft. He won't do it. And he would look very foolish. The big thing that when we look at the evidence before is Gold Coast knew they were losing Jack Martin. They did it in their own words to show that they weren't going to be bullied by the bigger Victorian clubs. If they wrong Nick Austin, the loophole is closed. And watch that happen. The AFL will close the loophole of PSD and they'll create some kind of pseudo methodology for these players that are eligible for that draft. A third asterisk. Now, I don't think when you look at Silvani's history, he's hard to negotiate with, right? And I've always said that this is probably the reason that Carlton never got some of the big name players that were linked with them, because you'll see it with Nick Austin. Nick Austin never, ever at one stage tried to pull the wool over their eyes with Fremantle Football Club. They got Chera and then they got Akers on a very cut price deal because they're fair. Carlton always lost out on that because we played hardball. So how is this going to look? Because I don't think he'd give a third flat out. Well, I reckon this will happen, right? I really do. Nick Caulfield has requested a trade. I think the Doggies will give pick 37 for it, which is an early third, which I think is about his money, a third rounder. I think Caulfield will leave. Paddy Dow comes in for Saints. They get Caulfield. Carlton get 37 for Dow. And this is the only way Carlton will get a pick like this if it's a freebie pick, a pick in a back-end deal. I think it's a solid trade. I think that Dow has a lot of value because there is no doubt if you can negate his talent, right, his deficiencies, he's a terrific footballer. And a player that I'll look at here who has always been modelled to him is Paddy Dangerfield. Dangerfield is head and shoulders above Dow. I'm not saying they're the same player. I'm saying they're the same type of player. And if you put him in a system that negates his deficiencies, he flies. And this is what it is. And I'll prove that by Adelaide haven't really got worse since Dangerfield left. I don't think Geelong have got proficiently better since Dangerfield's got there. It's an extra cog. And I think this is what St Kilda will look at. They've got the talent to negate him. Hard-running defenders to help him behind the ball. Some strong on-ballers. This guy's a point of difference. I think every side would look at that and feel quite blessed with that. think everyone would be, particularly with how the movement is. And I think that's roughly about the trade. If that didn't happen with the Caulfield pick, I reckon you are probably looking at St Kilda's picks later on in the draft, which probably aren't as sexy. I think you'd probably be looking there at a pick 52 or something like that. But I think that this one works with what's coming in and what's coming out. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one develop. But they're my opinions. Let me know. What are you thinking? St Kilda fans, North fans, if you've got any questions about the players, please send them through. Much love, peace, and I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella